Those mutants are out there, and I gotta go take care of them before they come back.
How can that possibly be the lesson you
Okay,
learned?
here's my leader-type plan.
Even though this has nothing to do directly with pony life, I can't help but draw some parallels to the concerns myself and others have expressed.
NOOO, it's Teen Titans Go all
Come
over
Teen
again.
Titans. Teen Titans Go all over
Teen
again.
Titans Go all over
wait a
again.
minute.
Titans Heaven knows I'll still give it a try.
Can I have some space here?
So we will learn
Really
nothing
needed that
from Teen
space.
Titans Go and Thundercats Roar. Okay.
There's only so much screen available.
Into an exciting, ambitious young justice-type adventure, but instead
Well, it's the Teen Titans Go of
I
My
don't
Little
want to
Pony.
judge
Some
based on a
people will
couple
like
of
it, some will hate
screenshots,
it.
but
From
this
hell's
looks
heart I
dangerously
stab at
similar
thee.
to Teen Titans Go or similar animations, pun intended. I'm getting
Uncle.
a very bad feeling about this stuff.
Damn it. They pulled a Teen Titans Go on us. Seems to be the way of all the good cartoons lately. Take a great IP and water it down.
Like Teen Titans Go. I'm getting flashbacks.
Leave the hyperbole to me.
That it reminds you of the horrors from Teen Titans Go. You know you're in for a complete regret that reads kids like
Enough!
Hopefully it just looks like Teen Titans Go and it's not written like it.
Okay, the joke with associating this with Teen Titan Go is getting a bit redundant.
Ya think? Opinions on the reveal of Pony Life were generally passionate. It started back in October of 2019, when Hasbro's Facebook featured a poll for supporting characters and a very strange-looking Spike, followed shortly by new toys being featured with a stylized take on what we'd come to expect. Fast forward to November, when Hasbro's Instagram account featured several designs obscured by text talking about looks versus feels. And on November 13th, we found out how they were feeling. Not the phrase I'd use to describe a happy mood, but okay. I understand why people are making the Teen Titans Go comparison, and it does make sense. Though I haven't watched much of Go, I am aware of its impact. It's upset a large portion of the original Teen Titans cartoon fans. And these comparisons speak to a concern that MLP will feature a similar shift. Yet before talking about Teen Titans Go, I think we've done ourselves a disservice by only drawing one comparison. I've seen more than a few shows that tried to make an attempt at self-parody through a style change. Let's start in the land of the rising sun and the anime Record of Lodoss. Best way to describe this show is an anime take on classic Dungeons & Dragons. You had a party of different races and professions, a land steeped in lore with plenty of ancient perils, and, most surprising of all, a comedy bit at the end of each TV episode.
Lodoss Island! What you've all been waiting for, the second part!
Talk about night and day. The Record of Lodoss War's OVA and the subsequent TV show were mostly serious. Sure, they might have had a moment of levity, but there was always some threat looming or a major battle, and sometimes a character death. Most of the fights took place in dungeons, remote locales, or large-scale sieges. By contrast, the Welcome to Lodoss Island shorts were slapstick, with a heavy emphasis on candy, pastel forests, and really cute dragons.
Oh, he's so cute!
Characters that were presented as royal and stoic in the main story
Just charge in and don't hold up. If you hadn't stopped to think about the consequences, then you might have won.
were absolutely ridiculous here.
Yeah!
And the heroes? They were still trying to accomplish quests in both storylines, but their efficacy was less than ideal.
I shall destroy you with this legendary magic item!
Yet despite these polar opposite presentations, they worked well together. Each short was a sort of exhale from the more serious episode, something to lighten the mood before sending the viewer off. I don't think Welcome to Lodoss Island would have functioned well as its own series, but as an addendum to the main story, it was a fun diversion, along with a "be seeing you." But what about something that wasn't immediately set alongside the main story? Something that was just as opposite, if not more so, from the original title. For that, let's shift focus to one of the most influential anime in history, Mobile Suit Gundam. First airing in 1979, Mobile Suit Gundam was a groundbreaking series for its depiction of giant robots as tools of war, much more fleshed out antagonists, and a moral ambiguity to many of its heroes.
You shouldn't have hit me! What's wrong with hitting you? You're a selfish brat.
It's hard to retain this feeling because a great many of us grew up experiencing the anime industry after Gundam's effect, but that too is a reminder of how much a story can change the genre. So why was the parody series SD Gundam so popular?
I catch!
The backstory is a bit lengthy, but it got its start when a fan drew a disproportionate Gundam, which caught a magazine editor's eye. This led to the creation of the super deformed idea, and it only kept growing. In 1988, these shorts featured in theaters, starting with the debut of Char's Counterattack, which is an important factor. By airing alongside a major entry in the franchise, fans could see it was a companion piece rather than a replacement. Companion being the operative word because of its approach. The series took iconic scenes from the original Gundam series and asked what would happen if the characters were a little less graceful or competent.
Gundam, ikimasu!
And boy, did this take off. It basically grew into a franchise of its own, with a wacky racer-style episode, fantasy parodies, and in time even attempts at self-contained stories. The idea carried into further Gundam series. Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny had special shorts that tried to be as silly as SD Gundam, but just didn't have the nostalgia factor. Though again, there's an art to taking a climactic battle and making it silly. A better use was the Season 2 trailer for Gundam 00. The first season ended with the protagonist's force being decimated, with deaths and crippling injuries abound. Then the show would be off the air for more than half a year, leaving a lot of fans waiting for a resolution. I can't emphasize enough how funny it was to have this tension hanging in the air, and this was the first preview we got. The writers clearly had some fun coming up with both silly previews and stranger ones that eventually proved to be true.
Amazing!
That one's funnier in hindsight. Looking at all this, I'm getting the picture that a lot of humor lies in the contrast of a serious topic flipped to create something silly. With that in mind, let's return stateside and look at another show that tried to be silly with something serious. Not yet. There is one other show that took a serious premise and made it wonderfully ridiculous. Unlike Lotus Island and SD Gundam, this show wasn't meant to be a companion to its predecessor. I had never even heard of Sealab 2020 when Cartoon Network and William Street put this show on Adult Swim, but oh how I enjoyed it. Sealab 2020 was Hanna-Barbera's attempt at a serious storyline set in an underwater research facility with all the perils that went with it.
We live in a dangerous environment, and the safety of all of us depends on each of us.
Sealab 2021 adopted the serious look of the environment, but made the characters beyond eccentric. Just compare Captain Murphy's depiction.
Send a mayday, then locate any sub capable of going to 18,000 feet and order it here fast.
Yes, sir.
And as of this moment, I am married to Adrienne Barbeau, Queen of Mars from Olympus Mons to Tharsis.
This was one of my favorite Adult Swim shows, and I think a lot of the humor came from a visual dissonance. Even though it relied on Hanna-Barbera's simplified animation, Sealab 2020 tried to be as serious as possible. None of the silliness you might see in a Scooby-Doo episode. So when 2021 appropriated the footage for an absurdist comedy, the serious look contrasted against their actions. I didn't fully appreciate just how much they'd changed until the episode 7211, which featured the cast doing a straight-faced retelling of the original episode, Collision of the Aquarius.
I never questioned your
courage, only your judgment.
Though this presentation highlighted just how much 2021 distinguished itself, it never mocked the original Sealab 2020 or the ideas it presented. This was transformative humor, creating something new and distinct. And when I look at all these serious themed shows and their comedic counterparts, I start to understand why Teen Titans Go draws such conflict and some of my apprehension around pony life. Both the Titans and ponies featured a mix of seriousness and humor, though with different priorities. With the Titans, the humor was often contrasted against the larger conflict. Sure, the world might be threatened by alien tofu or an eccentric British man, and Beast Boy and Cyborg were often on hand to deliver the punchline, but you never doubted that failure meant death. No matter how silly the enemy, the stakes were always high, except with Dr. Light.
Remember me? I'd like to go to jail now, please.
But Titans also ended with some unresolved questions. So when Teen Titans Go came along, it wasn't an exhale of tension or a parody of nostalgia. And rather than contrast its counterpart, Go seemed to satirize the very concept of being serious. Take, for example, the episode The Cape.
Now I have made you the telescope!
That's so cool!
In a reversal of Sealab 2021's effort, it took an old episode and replaced the dialogue with mockery.
Formation, run up walls for no reason! Yeah!
But there are fans of Go who never watched the original series, and I don't begrudge them for enjoying something silly, though I will critique that what little humor I've witnessed doesn't really grip me.
You gonna buy a new bathing suit too? This is my bathing suit. Hot.
I've seen better risque humor back in the 80s.
You know, me and that side of beef could have a meaningful relationship. Just get a grip. I can lift myself off this hook.
Speaking of the 80s, let's talk about the recent premiere of Thundercats Roar and how the humor sometimes works, but often doesn't.
Lion-O, Lord of the Kitty Cats! I mean Thundercats.
Okay, let's break this down. Much like SD Gundam, Thundercats Roar starts by banking on nostalgic moments. The Thundercats are on their ship. They have an abridged arrival at Third Earth. Also like SD Gundam, the show finds a way to defy seriousness to make a genuinely funny joke.
For the moments, give me a hole in the wall!
I laughed at that. The use of the classic music, the expectation, and the sudden shift all helped enhance the joke. Yet I realized this joke wouldn't work if I didn't already recognize both the music and the classic saying, sight beyond sight. So why play on that fandom memory if Lion-O is almost unrecognizable?
I'm Lion-O, Lord of the Thundercats, and I'm swinging on a vine! Yeah!
Yeah, this is how the two-parter lost me. This not Lion-O, whom I have termed Lion-Uh-Oh, doesn't amplify the original Lion-O's quirks to a fun parody. He's just impulsively stupid. And I hear you say, Silver, you rambling Razorbill. Why not just enjoy something that's meant to look silly, act silly, and just be silly fun? I might actually do that, if not for the funniest part of the show so far, the burbles.
Looking good, everyone.
The burbles are the funniest part because they combine a serious situation with an absurdist response. Need to build a castle? Well, that surely is a serious undertaking. Never mind, that was easy. Oh, but it looks like it's been damaged.
More building! Hooray!
And saying the main villain's name means you get struck by lightning. Surely they're careful and afraid to utter even one syllable.
Oh hey, did someone say Mum-Ra?
While Lion-Uh-Oh and the others try to force the joke by acting absurd, the burbles are hilarious because they seem oblivious to the consequences. They don't try to be funny. It's more that their reactions are so opposite of what the situation demands, I can't help but laugh. Now here's the strange thing. Lion-Uh-Oh is very much the same in terms of response. He laughs while getting shot at. He is wide-eyed at multiple perils rather than intimidated or cautious. But here's where the design contrast I keep talking about comes back into play. I look at how Lion-Uh-Oh and the other Thundercats are animated and I expect this goofiness. It's part of their design. The burbles are more true to their original counterparts and don't try to be stretchy or silly looking. The humor is concentrated in their reactions, which creates a stronger impact. If I expect the Thundercats to act like goofballs, then I won't be shocked when they do so, and I think that's the style that people worry about with Pony Life. While My Little Pony could blend drama and comedy, it did tend to fall more towards humor. Even their solutions to problems featured lighthearted and innocent approaches. So right off the bat, I don't think Pony Life can fulfill the role of being an exhale from tension or a parody of classic moments. And given how much fun Friendship is Magic was, I have a hard time envisioning a way to contrast humor against seriousness. This doubt isn't helped by the show's first press release. The new My Little Pony Pony Life show looks at the funny side of friendship, so it's likely not going to feature adventures or any big character stories. The new center of the world is Sugar Cube Corner. Just like going to a friend's house after school, this is our pony's home away from home. Here, Pinkie Pie serves up frosted cupcakes to the best customers in the world, her friends. And Sugar Cube Corner is suddenly located on an island, so those cupcakes better be frickin' ambrosia. But from this blurb, I get the sense that this will not be a far-traveling series. We won't see as much of Equestria. Pony Life episodes feature hilarious slice-of-life stories that modern kids can relate to. I celebrated Friendship is Magic because it featured a lot of stories to which almost anyone could relate. Are we saying that this won't be interesting to children's parents? This series is loaded with magic, including a mysterious source of potions that Pinkie keeps hidden behind the bakery counter and breaks out when the need arises. Okay, now that's something new. If I hadn't hammered the point home enough, I'll be blunt. Given what little information we have right now, it's far too easy to define this series by what it's not rather than what it could be. That bit about Pinkie Pie and potions, along with the teaser images of a new pony named Nova Potion, is the only aspect that's unique. Yet the biggest trepidation I feel towards this isn't that it's going to be a silly take on a show I enjoyed. Rather, I wonder if it's going to be a directed kind of silly. Because looking at all those other shows that tried something like this, I noticed there was a method to the madness. A crafting of humor and conflicting it against a situation to accomplish different goals. Maybe its goal was to ease everyone's tension. Maybe invoke nostalgia while at the same time inviting laughter. Maybe it was to make transformative humor to show something new. What seems to push as many people away is being silly for silly's sake. A flaw to which Friendship is Magic was not immune, though it could bounce back readily. Just because Pony Life carries a sillier look doesn't guarantee an undesirable outcome. I wouldn't have expected anything great from the other shows I listed if simply going by the visuals. If anything, they were often more endearing because they were unassuming. Even the animation remains to be witnessed, because I don't place a lot of stock in a commercial's animation. Animation for a commercial can either be insultingly low budget, or, as was often the case in my childhood, deceptively high quality compared to the actual show. I have not yet seen an example of the humor or writing, so I have no idea if the show staff will tap into the same creativity that birthed unexpected hits. All I have to go on right now is a summary that seems to focus on removing elements from a show I enjoyed rather than building up a new story. So I remain skeptical, but with an optimistic eye. If nothing else, I've already gained an appreciation for previous attempts that got it right. Most of all, I look back at the shows that gave rise to these comedies, and I realize that they're still available online, still remembered, and still celebrated. The addition of something new to the franchise isn't going to wipe that away. No matter what the reaction, I hope that Pony Life will be distinct. I enjoyed Friendship is Magic and will always have fond memories. But I don't need to see that repeated over and over. There's more to this franchise on the horizon, and I'm looking forward to seeing what new forms it takes. So to close out this review, I'm going to feature Pony Life-style artwork done by fans that makes me feel a little more at ease with the concept. I'm Silver-Quill. Thanks for watching.